Hi friends, my name is Kayla Rayne, and today I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the month of July. In the month of July, I read a total of 6 books, I believe? No, 7 books, which is definitely a stark contrast from last month. I really took the time to sit down and read outside of wedding planning and just work stuff, and since at this point I get married in like a week, I will have plenty of time for reading afterwards because my weekends will not be filled with last minute wedding planning stuff, which is just a nightmare. But before I jump into the books that I read this month, I would like to do 2 booktuber shout outs. This is something that I had done in the past. I just kind of forgot to throw it in my last couple of videos, and I want to get back into that because there are so many new to me booktubers that I discover each month, and I just want to shout out at least 2 of them each month, so maybe you guys can find them if you aren't already subscribed. So the first booktuber that I have to shout out is Joyce from Jumble of Jargon. I think her videos are so amazing. I think she has some really great commentary on the books that she reviews, and I really love the way that she interacts in the comment section. I know I had a really great discussion with her about A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and she really opened up my viewpoint a little bit more on how I view that book when I read it and then how I view it now after that conversation. It was just really fantastic, and she is such a sweet and fantastic booktuber. And then I have Nabila from Nabibliomania, I think is her channel name. I'll leave links in the down bar below, of course, but I absolutely love watching her videos. She is such a Harry Potter fangirl, which is fantastic, so just seeing her videos gives me so much joy because I'm just like, yes, me too. I love them too. I feel your love. So if you are a Harry Potter fan, I do recommend checking her out. She has such fantastic videos, and she just seems like a genuinely sweet person. So I've really enjoyed watching her videos this past month, and I am just so excited that she started making YouTube videos again because she had like a 3-week hiatus, but now she's back and it's awesome. So check her out, go give her some love and support so she keeps making more awesome videos. But without further ado, I'm just going to jump into the books that I read in the month of July, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the books that I read for the read-along that I was helping host with 3 of my other good friends, Trina, Emily, and Sylvia. I will leave links in the down bar below as well for them, so be sure to check them out. But we hosted a read-along called the Summer of the Sisterhood Read-Along, #Pantsalong, and we read through the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series. But I failed a little bit. The last book I didn't quite get to, and I decided to just go ahead and bring it on my honeymoon with me. But I did read the first 3 books, starting with The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Am Brashares, and I ended up rating this a 5 out of 5 stars. As the first book in the series, this book lays a lot of groundwork to the characters, and I just love the way that we get this look into the characters' lives and get just a little bit of build up on who they are, but not so much that they don't have room to grow in later books. This definitely has a really nice conclusion, so if you read the first book and you're just really happy with where it left off, feel free to stop there, but I do recommend going on to the next books. Which brings me to The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, the second summer of the Sisterhood, also by Am Brashares. I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars because this didn't contain all of my favorite storylines. I thought that it had some really great development overall as far as the characters go, but I wish that some of the storylines didn't play out quite how they did. I still think that it is a really fantastic book and a great contribution to the series. And that brings me to the last one that I read this month, and that is Girls in Pants, the third summer of the Sisterhood. I think this one is honestly my favorite out of the 4 books. I really enjoy this one. I think that there's so much character development in this one, and I felt like this is probably one of the most relatable ones to me. This does follow the girls in their first summer after high school when they're kind of figuring out what they want to do with the rest of their lives and how scary that is and where they are as friends in the grand scheme of things, and just the way that those different themes and feelings and situations were explored was just really fantastic. So I did give this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and it definitely stands as my favorite of the series, which maybe that will change as I read the 4th one as an adult. Who knows? The next book that I ended up reading was The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall, and I had this on audiobook, and I really enjoyed the narrator for this audiobook. This book is very interesting. It follows a main character who gets caught up in this huge conspiracy thing, and she just finds out that she is more intertwined in it than she ever thought she would be. I think that the pacing on this book was really fantastic, but I did have to stop and remind myself that this is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be fast-paced, and it's supposed to be incredibly fictional, because there were so many points in the book where the main character just did something that I was just like, no, you're a smart character. Why did you just do that? But I do understand that those things had to happen for things to play out the way that they did. So I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars, but it was such a fun read. So I do recommend picking it up if you like an Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider meets the Princess Diaries type deal, because that's kind of the vibe I was getting from this book. Next, I picked up The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi, and I really enjoyed this fantasy novel. This is a debut novel, and I think that the author did such a fantastic job of creating this incredibly lush fantasy world. That's the thing that really drew me in with this book. The plot was a very slow burn plot, and it took a while to really get to the meat of everything and kind of figure out what was going on. The characters were well written, but I think the thing that stood out for me and just really sucked me in was the world building that was just so detailed and beautiful and just incredibly stunning to me. So I did end up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm so much looking forward to the next book in this series, because I just really want to know what happens with Maya, where she goes with her journey, and I want to see more of this really incredible world, see how the plot builds on itself, and meet some new really fantastic characters. Another huge plus to this book, of course, was the female friendships and the awesome female characters. So if that's your thing, maybe check this out. I also picked up The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee, Ahdieh, and I really enjoyed this book. It took me a little bit longer to read it, because I do have to say that the pacing is very on and off. There are points in the book where it was just wham bam thank you ma'am, like so much action and fantastic stuff going on, and then this very slow burn pacing that happened, and it just kept going back and forth, so it did take me a little bit longer to read, but I still really enjoyed it. I think that the characters in this book are really interesting, and I think that it's nice to see so many different characters with so many different complexities. You see really bad sides of them and you see really good sides of them, and seeing that in all of the characters really was just a whole new level that I don't see that often in YA. You get your very stereotypical bad guy and your very stereotypical good guy with a few hang-ups maybe, but not really anything that's kind of condemning. But in this book, there are many moments when you're not quite sure. This is definitely a book that has a lot of those gray area characters. So if that's your thing, definitely check this out. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I am interested to see where the plot goes, because it ends on kind of a cliffhanger, and I'm like, what is happening next? What is going to happen next? Thank God it's already out. I just have to wait for it to become available at my library. Sad moment of silence for a long waiting list at the library. And finally, I picked up Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I listened to this on audiobook, and I absolutely loved this. I had no idea everything that went into Malala's story. Obviously, I knew the highlights. She's a 15-year-old girl who was shot by the Taliban for speaking up about girls' rights to have education in Pakistan. And I didn't really know much more about her than that. So I went ahead and picked up this book on audiobook, and I listened to it, and her story is so incredible. And just seeing such a young woman stand up for her rights and the rights of other females around her is so inspiring and so empowering, and I love that she is such a strong voice at such a young age. It was so fantastic. I tore through this. I loved it, and I have been recommending it to almost everyone I know, because I feel like you just don't really know the story until you listen to the audiobook and like really hear it from Malala herself. The news headlines and the news stories don't completely do it justice. I think that Malala is such a fantastic young woman, and I can't wait to see what she does with the rest of her life. I did end up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars because it was such a well put together story about her life and how she came to be where she is and kind of her outlook for the future. It was really fantastic, really well put together, and presented very well. So that has been it for the books that I read in the month of July. It was a really great reading month as far as quality goes. I picked up some really great books and started some series that I am very excited to finish. Some of those I'm going to have to wait a little while because they're not all out yet. Sad face. But, you know, that's the life of a book nerd. We're always waiting for the next book. Anyway, I'll leave links in the down bar below for all of the lovely ladies that I mentioned in this video, as well as links to my social media sites like Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads if you want to check them out and follow me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay weird.